an incredible opportunity is coming for America, in my humble opinion, starting in just a couple of weeks. The Bush tax cuts are going to expire. Pentagon spending is going to be slashed, although still hugely larger than just a decade ago. It will be. And to make conservatives smile, funding for programs that keep poor and unemployed people alive and healthy are going to be cut. Now, this is an opportunity for several reasons. First, when the Bush tax cuts expire at the end of the year, everybody's taxes are going to go up. I'm going to sneeze here. Excuse me. Particularly taxes on the rich and the very rich, which means that if Democrats propose cutting taxes on working class people while ignoring the new rates for the rich, after the first of the year, Republicans can sign on and vote for the legislation without violating their blood oath to multimillionaire K Street lobbyist Grover Norquist. Well, it goes nowhere as far as it should, which would be to roll back the Reagan tax cuts. It's a start on moving America in a more egalitarian direction. Second, most of the cuts, this is the sequestration stuff that happens at the end of the year, right? Most of those cuts to the Pentagon budget are good things. The Pentagon has lost over $2 trillion they can't account for. It's a good guess you'll find a lot of it in the 20-bedroom mansions owned by defense contractors and lobbyists that ring the Washington, D.C. suburbs. And this nation needs a healthy and robust debate on our role as empire. And President Obama said this during the campaign. It's time to do some nation building right here at home. And third, by breaking out the social spending cuts and requiring Republicans, particularly in the House of Representatives, which they control, to go on record on their position on cuts for social services, the American people will get to see upfront and personal Paul Ryan's and Mitt Romney's 47% are moochers philosophy played out large. Americans will see in a way that's absolutely irrefutable that the Republican Party is only out for the interests of the top of 1% and doesn't give a rat's patootie about working people or the poor. That could also, keep in mind, the Democrats got 500,000 more votes for the House of Representatives this year than Republicans did, and yet Republicans control the House because of gerrymandering. But if you expose enough Republicans as wackadoodle right-wing crazies who basically hate working people, elderly, the poor, whatever, and are only carrying water for the very, very rich, that could set the stage for a Democratic victory in the House of Representatives in 2 years. Because every 2 years, 100%, all 435, every single member of the House of Representatives is up for re-election every 2 years. So to make the most of this opportunity, Democrats need to have legislation in place now, this week or next, that addresses these three issues. In my opinion, it should be three separate bills that will break out each of the issues. First, cuts taxes on middle and lower income people while leaving rich people's taxes the same as they were during the Clinton years. The second ratifies cuts to the Pentagon budget, but in a way that's rational and reflects the reality that our biggest current and future threats are not nuclear war, but cyber war, not so much nation states as non-state actors angry that our drones kill their families. The legislation should incidentally put some serious limits on presidential power to be judge, jury, and executioner via drone strikes, particularly when the target is an American citizen, but frankly, I'd say for any human being. If the Democrats put this legislation on the table now, with the promise of a vote on it the week after the new year, it would soothe the fears of those who believe in the uncertainty fairy. And if it's decent legislation, it'll give progressives a rallying point to pressure their members of Congress, which frankly, I'd much rather see a rollback of the incredibly destructive Reagan tax cuts. But this, at least, would be a start. It would calm the hysteria. I mean, it would make the Republicans hysterical, but everybody else, It would provide a basis for moving forward. It would put the lie to the stupid Republican theory that it's good for our economy when the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. If you combine all of this with some reasonable trade policies like those advanced by Senators Sherrod Brown and Bernie Sanders, we could even see a return to the Eisenhower and Clinton prosperities. So everybody's all hysterical about this so-called fiscal cliff, a phrase that Ben Bernanke coined. I think it's time to drive off the so-called fiscal cliff. Once done, Americans are going to realize, first, it's nothing but a speed bump. It's just a speed bump. And this whole Thelma and Louise thing, this hysteria that's being hyped by the so-called deficit hawks. Oh, my God, we're going to go off the edge down into the Grand Canyon. We're all going to die. Oh, no. No. We can fix this. And let the new Congress do it. With more Democrats in the House of Representatives and some good ones. Let Alan Grayson loose on them. And in the Senate, some brilliant Democrats in the Senate. Let Tammy Baldwin after him. Let Elizabeth Warren after him. We can do this. We can do it quickly. I mean, John Boehner's going to have to be dragged to the table kicking and screaming, which is going to be a challenge because Eric Cantor's always standing right behind him with that knife in his, poking his kidney. But yeah, that shiv. But it could be done. So that's my take on this. If everybody's hysterical about the fiscal cliff, I'm like, it's a bungee cord. It's an off ramp for craziness.